Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So before we begin guys, I do have some videos covering the Mandalorian series and the Book of Boba Fett, so you can check those out if you want to first. As far as the Star Wars movies and animated series are concerned, I haven't covered those on my channel. Plus, I've only seen the movies because I grew up with Star Wars, but I haven't seen the animated series yet, though I will cover all of that in the future. So Obi-Wan Kenobi is set 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, the third and final Star Wars prequel film. And in it, Obi-Wan Kenobi leaves Tatooine in an effort to rescue Princess Leia after she's captured by the Empire. So the Star Wars fanbase seems to be very divided on this series from what I've seen. Some love it and enjoy it for what it was, while others hated it and found it to be underwhelming. As for me, I'm not going to deny that it has its problems, but I genuinely enjoyed it, especially as a longtime Star Wars fan. We're talking like 18 years, maybe 19 years, somewhere around there. This review is going to be mostly spoiler free, but there will be a small spoiler section at the end, so let's get into it. So first of all, I thought it was great to see Ewan McGregor come back to reprise the role after 17 years. It's almost as if he hasn't aged a day since then, and he's still able to play the character quite well. And it's nice to see the very simple life that Obi-Wan lives on Tatooine now. You know, he's the equivalent of a hermit-like factory worker, constantly suppressing his force abilities so that the Empire doesn't track him down. We also get a very young iteration of Princess Leia, played by Vivian Lyra Blair. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Vivian knocked her performance out of the park, and in many ways, the Princess Leia we see here is no different than the Princess Leia we saw in the original trilogy. I think Carrie Fisher would have been beyond impressed if she had lived to see this. Senator Bail Organa and Luke Skywalker's uncle Owen both returned for this series, and they're played once again by Jimmy Smits and Joel Edgerton. Indira Varma, who you may remember as Odessa Sand from Game of Thrones, is also in the series, and she plays Tala Durith, a disillusioned Imperial officer. Then you have the villains, the first one being the most obvious, Darth Vader. Yes, James Earl Jones came back to voice the character once again, but one of the biggest selling points about this series was the return of Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker in 2 of the Star Wars prequels, physically stepping into the Darth Vader suit and also making appearances as Anakin Skywalker. I'm not going to discuss how because that's spoiler territory, so yeah, we'll talk about that later. Then you have the Grand Inquisitor, who originally appeared in the Star Wars Rebels series. He's pretty much one of the highest ranking members of the Galactic Empire. The thing that really took me by surprise was the fact that he was played by Rupert Friend, who a lot of people may remember from the TV show Homeland. Then of course there's Reva, aka the third sister, one of many inquisitors for the Empire who feels a need to prove herself worthy of becoming the Grand Inquisitor. I really enjoyed her character arc, and I can understand why a lot of people were taken aback by this particular character, mainly because of the way she was written, and maybe they didn't like the performance of the actress Moses Ingram. It's one thing to hate the character, but it's a whole other thing to attack the actress on social media. Then again, this isn't the first time the Star Wars community has done this. John Williams returned to score the music for the series, and the theme music he came up with for the show definitely got stuck in my head after every single episode. The production values and the visual effects were great as always, even though some people argued that the series felt fan-made at times. And that's because they're pretty much working with a TV budget here, and it shows, but still, these are excellent production values in my opinion. The action sequences were fun as well. It's a lot of your typical Star Wars stuff, whether it's the stormtroopers in action, whether it's Obi-Wan doing his thing with his lightsaber. And there's even scenes of him being so uncivilized and using a blaster in some very John Wick style sequences. There's plenty of callbacks, homages, and references to the movies, which can be very rewarding, especially for someone like me. Some people would argue that there's not much of a story to tell across these 6 episodes, mainly because it adds up to about 4 to 5 hours worth of content, and the series fills in a very small gap in the Star Wars timeline. Personally, I kind of realized this going into it. I didn't expect this grand adventure like what you've seen in the movies, and because of that, I kind of got what I wanted. And if you were somewhat let down by this series, there's no denying that the finale pleased pretty much everybody. It was filled with fan service and wrapped up everything quite nicely, so much so that even though Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are really pushing for a second season, we don't need a second season, but who knows? Let's see what happens. Now, the first issue I have with Obi-Wan Kenobi is the pacing. The 4th episode in particular, it just felt like filler for the most part, and even though I felt the first 2 episodes were perfect, I can understand why a lot of people consider them to be a bit slow. And the other thing is a couple of nitpicks, like just some logic issues with the story. You know, there's a scene where Obi-Wan is sitting with a bunch of stormtroopers and nobody seems to recognize him. I get that he's aged a bit over 10 years, but still, he hasn't aged by that much. And the other thing is the de-aging of Hayden Christensen in some of his scenes. It could have been better. I guess it's due to budgetary reasons that, what they ended up with was the best they could do, but at least they tried. Okay, so we're going to do a small spoiler section now. If you haven't seen the series in its entirety, then skip to this time on the screen or just click off the video. So there's only 3 things I want to discuss, and it's the character arc of Reva, the return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, and certain aspects of the finale. So when it comes to Reva, the reveal of her being a Jedi Padawan when Order 66 happened, it was obvious, but I kind of wanted that to be the case. That coupled together with her desire to become the Grand Inquisitor and potentially kill Darth Vader goes to show how tragic of a character she is. And I liked her send-off at the end where she just couldn't find it in her to kill a young Luke Skywalker. And, Obi-Wan insists she's free and all of that. And, it's very redemptive when you think about it, so all that was great. Then, of course, the return of Hayden Christensen. That was fantastic. People were really waiting for him to show up and they were getting a bit impatient because in the first 4 episodes, he had that one scene where Obi-Wan hallucinates about him. Then there was all the flashbacks in episode 5 with him doing training with Obi-Wan and the Order 66 sequences. And of course the scene that gave everybody chills, being the scene where as Darth Vader he gets his helmet broken by Obi-Wan and he speaks, but it's not James Earl Jones speaking, it's really Hayden Christensen speaking, mixed together with parts of James Earl Jones's voice. For years there's been a disconnect between Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, which is on purpose, but when it was announced that Hayden Christensen was coming back, this is exactly what I was hoping for, and I got it. Everything about that scene was brilliant, from the music to the camera work to the lighting and just, the symbolism and stuff like that. There's that as well as other aspects of the finale that I definitely enjoyed, such as the return of Emperor Palpatine, a cameo from Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost, once again played by Liam Neeson, and Obi-Wan saying the line, you know which one.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
General Kenobi!
So yeah, that's pretty much my review of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I really enjoyed it, but I know some people didn't, and that's fine. I am interested to see what the live-action Ahsoka series is going to be like. So yeah, looking forward to that. So next time we're going to jump back into my retrospective on The Wire by looking at Season 4. So thank you all for watching, guys. Please be sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Ring the bell. Can I even say be safe during this time? Because now we don't even have to wear our masks in public. Well, take care, and I'll see you soon.